Good evening, Hofstra fans, and welcome to the first episode of Sports Beat for the spring 2021 semester. Also, the first live episode in a year. I'm your host, David Lazar, and we've got a jam-packed episode for you tonight. Hofstra sports are coming back, and we'll be recapping the men's and women's basketball seasons while also diving into the current men's and women's lacrosse teams. Also, we'll be recapping the NHL. So, don't go anywhere, Hofstra fans, because Sports Beat starts right now. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm joined by my dear friends Tommy Aquilina and Will Wiggleman. And let's get right into the show. The Hofstra men's basketball team is being led currently by acting head coach Mike Farrelly. What are your thoughts on his performance this season?
I think he'll be the first to tell you that he has made mistakes. You watch his post-game press conferences, he always admits that he has made mistakes. But I think he's been a great, energetic guy for this Hofstra team. He's been around the team for a few years as an assistant. He knows the team pretty well, and I think in the absence of Joe Mihalik and considering the situation that he was thrown into, I think Mike Farrelly has done a great job.
Yeah, he's definitely made mistakes. I mean, who wouldn't? This is one of the first times he's gotten a gig like this. He also didn't expect to be doing this job this season. So you're not expecting to step in for Coach Mihalik, obviously a very respected coach, and we wish Coach Mihalik the best. But for Coach Farrelly, I think he's done a really good job. Not only was he not expecting to be in this position, but he also, remember, Eli Pemberton is gone. Justin Wright-Foreman's been gone for 2 years now. DeJure Bowie is gone. So with perhaps not his best players and not expecting to be in this position, I think Farrelly's done a really good job.
Just like his coach, Kevon Kramer, is electric. Just how important is he for the future of the program?
I think he's a big building block for the future. He's been doing it on both ends of the floor this season. He's averaging over 9 points per game, but he also leads the team with 15 blocks. He's pulling down 6.6 rebounds per game. That's second to Isaac Conte. Kevon Kramer has shown a great all-around game so far this season, highlighted by some massive dunks. I think he's a great building block for the future.
Not only is Kramer going to be an important part of this team moving forward, he's going to be an important part of this year's team right now. 9.3 points per game, 4 double-doubles, including in Hofstra's last game against JMU. If the Pride are going to make some noise in the tournament this year, Kramer is going to be a big reason why, and he's only going to get better. He's very important for the future of the program, could be the face of the program in a year or two.
Along with Kramer, we cannot forget about star seniors Jalen Ray and Tariq Coburn, who are looking to repeat as CAA champions. Have you been impressed with their play thus far this season?
I think Jalen Ray has done well with his new volume of shots. He's shot the ball a lot more this year, obviously, without DeJure Bowie and Eli Pemberton to take shots. He's also done it on the other end of the floor, leading the team with 36 steals. But as far as Coburn goes, he's been a bit inconsistent, and that's kind of been his game since he's been at Hofstra. He's the type of guy that will have 28 points in one game and then 9 points the next. And against Northeastern on January 9th, he had 15 points, but then combined his next 2 games, he had 15 points. So Tariq Coburn, he's been a bit up and down, but Jalen Ray has been fantastic all season long.
You know, I want to highlight the thing that Will said about Tariq Coburn, up and down. 5 games this season, he's poured in 20 or more points, but he's also had 5 games with single-digit points. So he has been up and down, but overall, he's averaging 15.7 points per game. His shooting numbers are really solid. 44% from the field, 40% from 3, 82% from the free throw line. And Jalen Ray has really stepped up as one of the best players on the team. He's playing some of his best basketball, averaging 18.6 points per game, about 3 rebounds and assists per game. He's also really stepped up his free throw shooting it at 88.2% from the charity stripe. They've been phenomenal, and as Hofstra's 2 probably best players this year, Hofstra's going to need them to continue to play this well if they want to go where they want to get to in the CAA tournament.
With a new cast of characters, the Pride is 12-9 on the season and 8-6 in Colonial Athletic Association play. What are your predictions for them in postseason play?
I think they can win the CAA. I think it's been a bit of a tougher season. I don't think they're going to win the regular season championship, but I think once the tournament comes around and once it comes down to it, you have that emotional level for the Hofstra Pride with Coach Mihalik not being on the sidelines and Coach Farrelly being there hyping them up. I think this could be be a team that can pull off a surprising win. I think they can compete with the best when they're on their game. I think you got to look out for the Hofstra Pride come tournament time.
I think that the CAA tournament could go a lot of different ways for Hofstra. They have been a surprising team this year. I do like the job that Coach Farrelly has done. Jalen Ray has scored 25 or more points in 3 of his last 4 games, although he only had 5 in the other game. So it could go a lot of different ways. They've played pretty well in the CAA. They've also gotten a lot of games canceled recently, so by the time the tournament comes around, they're going to be a little bit cold. I think this is going to be a team that does make some noise, wins a game or 2, and who knows, maybe they could be CAA champs for the 2nd year in a row.
Will, Tommy, I have been hard on the Hofstra Pride men's basketball team in the past, but this year, when they put it all together, they are by far the best team in the conference. I have to agree with you. I think that they can win it all this year in the CAA. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but don't go anywhere, Hofstra sports fans. We'll be right back.
Your son wants to get a cat,
I'll really take care of it.
but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job.
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome back, Hofstra sports fans. Now let's talk about the men's and women's lacrosse team, who have just recently started their seasons. The men's lacrosse team is off to an up-and-down season. They are 1-1, and they just beat Sacred Heart. They improved to 13-0 all-time against that program, and they have bright hopes for this season. What are your thoughts on how they played?
Obviously, the season didn't start the way that they wanted it to. They didn't get a win, but you take on a team that you're 12-0 against, and you beat Sacred Heart. So you feel good about that. You're back to 500. For me, I've been impressed with their offense. Double-digit goals in both games, 31 overall, so you're averaging 15.5 goals per game. But the thing for the Hofstra Pride, they got to stop turning the ball over. 40 turnovers in 2 games, more turnovers than goals. Ryan Tierney is great. Some of the other guys are stepping up. You have to be able to score more than you turn the ball over.
I think the Pride are really trying to build for the future this season, and that means not running the offense solely through Ryan Tierney, and that's what they've done in the first 2 games. You saw Alex Concannon in that second game against Sacred Heart put up 5 goals. Yes, Ryan Tierney's going to get his, and he's obviously the most talented player on that Hofstra squad, but I think as the Pride start to move the offense not solely through Tierney, I think there will be some growing pains there, but I think in the end it's going to pay off. And also, you have to remember that Bobby Casey is a little bit banged up right now. He hasn't been in the crease. It's been redshirt sophomore Matt Gates, and head coach Seth Tierney is going to see if that's the guy he wants moving forward.
Ryan Tierney, son of Seth, is having an unbelievable season, as you both mentioned, but not just an unbelievable season, an unbelievable career with the Pride. He has 23 straight games with a goal and a point. How unstoppable is he right now?
I mean, what more can you say about him? Obviously, the Tierney name is one of the biggest on Hofstra's campus, and Ryan is a big reason why. He has 13 points, 9 goals, and 4 assists in 2 games. He scored 8 goals in Hofstra's first game of the year, and really, they go as he goes. So he's been white hot. The team has been playing better of late. They ended up losing their first game of the year in overtime. He scores 8 goals, a 23rd straight game with at least 1 assist on top of a goal, and they end up beating Sacred Heart. Again, they go as he goes, so they're going to want to see more of this moving forward.
Despite what I said before about the Pride not running their offense solely through Ryan Tierney, it just shows how talented he is that he continues to lead the Pride in goals, assists, and points. But you see that you can still win even when he doesn't have a great game. Only a goal and an assist against Sacred Heart, and they got a big win, and that's big part in due to Alex Concannon's 5 goals and the rest of the Hofstra offense stepping up.
Transitioning to the women's lacrosse team, a very talented program. They are 2-0. That is their first 2-0 start since 2018. Let's pin these 2 programs against each other. Which one is better, the men or the women?
I would say on this one, it's got to be the women. Their first 2-0 start in a couple years. Obviously, they were, right around the top of the pack the last 2 years in the CAA, but you want to remain undefeated as long as possible. The women have looked really good so far this season. Alyssa Perella, an all-time great athlete. We're going to talk about her more moving forward. I've liked what I've seen from the men's team, but I've loved what I've seen from the women's team, and I think they're going to have a better campaign. I think they're really, really hungry.
I think these 2 teams are just in different spots. I think that this women's team has been competing. Their window is open right now. I mean, it's very close to being closed. It's tough with Alyssa Perella and Alexa Matera and Darcy Smith all graduating after the season. But I think the women's team right now is in a better spot to compete for the CAA championship, while the men's team is continuing to build and grow and try and become that program that's a perennial contender.
Let's continue the juxtaposition. You have Perella for the women's team and you have Tierney for the men's team. I'm going to ask you a challenging question. Who is better?
That's tough. What if one of them could go against each other, and then we could see maybe. But no. As good as Ryan Tierney has been, I have to go with Alyssa Perella because, like I said, the Tierney name is one of the biggest on campus, and he's had a great career. But while he's one of the best players in Hofstra history, I think you look at Alyssa Perella as one of the best women's lacrosse players in CAA and maybe even D1 history. Look at these numbers. 61 career games for her, including this season, 226 goals, 305 points, absolutely outrageous numbers. I got to go with Alyssa Perella.
Both are some of the best that their programs have ever seen, but I think Alyssa Perella is one of the best athletes that Hofstra has ever seen. And I think when it's all said and done, she's going to be up there with some of the best to come through this program.
Great insight from both of you. I have to agree. When you look at that women's lacrosse team, there is a star for that program. So guys, we're going to take another short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. Sports Beat will be right back.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help. And slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Sports Beat. Going back into the world of basketball, let's talk about that women's basketball team. They have been quietly impressive in a difficult CAA, but they are doing it with a cast of moving parts. Who has been your MVP so far this year?
David, as Jacayla Brown goes, this Hofstra Pride women's basketball team goes. She has been the facilitator all season long. She's been scoring points, and I think you see it when the Pride are at their best is when Jacayla Brown is at her most efficient. She's going to get her points every single night, no matter how many shots she has to take, but when she's efficient at shooting the basketball, I think the Pride are at their best.
I would have to go with Brown as well. Obviously, last season didn't go the way that Hofstra wanted it to, but this year they've really kind of re-entered the room and reintroduced themselves, so to speak. Jacayla Brown, a big reason why. Team high 16.3 points per game, 3.2 rebounds per game, and she's made improvements in her own game. She's the #1 shot person. She also has stepped up at the free throw line, a 62% shooter last year from the charity stripe. This year, 75.3%, so she's improved her game. She's making others around her better. I got to go with Jacayla Brown.
You both named players, and that was the question, but I have to go with a person, and that is head coach Danielle Santos-Atkinson. This program is being led by her on and off the court.
David, you're over there finding loopholes, but Danielle Santos-Atkinson is out there finding some great recruits, and that's what she's doing to continue to build this program. Rough first season for her, but as she said herself, it's about growing and building a program, and that's exactly what she's doing. You've seen dramatic improvements this year as she started to bring in her own players. This is a Pride team that is interested. This is a Pride team that tries hard every single night, and you see it on every possession.
Yeah, like Will said, this wasn't a one-year thing for Coach Santos-Atkinson, and I mean, a question for you actually, but I mean, it's a pretty easy one. 6 is a much bigger number than 0, right? The Hofstra Pride they look so much better than last year. They really struggled last year, but she's got them playing in close games. She's got them buying into the system. She also, in their first year, they go from 0 wins to 6 in the CAA, so it's not like they're making short little gains. They've really grown in leaps and bounds. I think they might even be able to make some noise in the CAA tournament this year. So I love the job that Coach Danielle Santos-Atkinson has done, and I think that this program really has a bright future ahead of it.
This isn't Sesame Street, but 6 is the magic number, and 6 is how many wins the Pride have this season. That's a pretty good number for the women's basketball team, but can it translate Can it translate to a postseason victory for the Pride?
I think the Pride are a true middle-of-the-pack team. They beat the teams below them, and they've struggled against the teams above them. But I think they still have that upset potential because they've been competitive in most of their games, in most of their losses. They've had that competition. It's come down to the very end. I think this Pride team can win a couple games in the NCAA tournament or in the CAA tournament and make some noise.
I think they can as well, and if I was in Vegas, I wouldn't necessarily bet on it, but I think this is a team that can surprise some people in the CAA tournament. I could definitely see them winning a game or two. When they played teams in back-to-back games this year, they oftentimes looked competitive in both matchups, so you get a bounce to go your way here or there. Hofstra could very easily squeak out a win, or maybe even two.
But this isn't a one-season project, as you both mentioned. This is about the future, and just how bright is the future of this program?
I think it's very bright, David. Remember, they're doing this without Sorelli Neza and Selma Markasic, who are both out for the rest of the season. Those are two guards who are expected to see a ton of playing time. I think as they come back, that will make the team even stronger next year. And I think this team can be competing for a CAA title in the next few years.
So I want to keep it within the window of Jacayla Brown because we mentioned her as the team's MVP. Next year is her senior year. I could absolutely see the Hofstra Pride getting even better next year. You get Sorelli Neza back. Jacayla Brown improves. Coach DSA gets better as a coach. Coaches improve with experience as well. I think this is a team that could win half their CAA games next year and really, really be competitive moving forward.
Tommy, you've got your glasses on. I left mine at home. But if I'm going to put my glasses on and look 3 years into the future, hypothetically, and you compare the two basketball teams that we've talked about, the women's basketball team and the men's basketball team, it's going to be tough for me to say that the men's basketball team in 3 years will be better than the women's basketball team. I think the future of this program is oh so bright. Even though Hofstra sports are coming back, I could not help myself. We have to talk about the NHL. And the NHL has been an unbelievable story so far this season. Fans are coming back, and there have been many other great storylines, including brand new divisions. So, what have been your favorite divisions to watch so far this season?
For me, it's been the East Division. The East Division has been a little helter-skelter. I don't know how much people expected from all the Metro teams. You've obviously got the Sabres, but then also the Devils and the Rangers. People didn't really know what to expect. They've played pretty well. Ty Smith actually has improved the New Jersey defense quite a bit. Second most games with a point to begin his career. I've liked what I've seen from the Rangers. The Islanders are, of course, continuing to play well, but then also just some fun things, like the Bruins are continuing to play well, even without Zdeno Chara. He went to the Capitals. They're in the same division now. It's been a really, really fun division, and I think you could see, in particular, Boston and Washington make some noise in the playoffs.
If you could find a way to watch that All-Canadian North Division, do it. Defense has been thrown out the window up north, and it's all exciting offense. Austin Matthews is scoring goals at an amazing clip. Connor McDavid is putting up points at an amazing clip. He's looked unstoppable, and it's looked almost effortless, David. But I think what really impresses me and what really makes it so much fun to watch is even the teams towards the bottom, like the Vancouver Canucks, have young stars like Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser. And the Ottawa Senators, even though they're having a very tough season, you still have some young, bright stars that are a lot of fun to watch, like Brady Tkachuk and like Tim Stützle.
There has been a lot of offense in that Scotia North Division, and there has been a roller coaster taking place in Montreal. And no, it's not the nightlife in the city. It is the Montreal Canadiens. They have been up and down. They started off hot, and now their season is not going well. They just fired their coach today, and they are on a downward spiral. Guys, are they pretenders or contenders?
When you fire your head coach, it's usually a sign that you're probably not even pretending. I mean, right now they're in fourth place out of 7 teams. They could very well make the playoffs. The Senators aren't good, so there's really 6 playoff spots up for grabs in that division. But just to give you an example of the lack of defense that Will was talking about, Carey Price, one of the best goaltenders in the NHL, a 2.95 goals against average this season, an .893 save percentage. That would be the worst of his career. Those just aren't Carey Price numbers. I don't see the Canadiens making the playoffs this year. And if they do, because again, of the way the divisions are situated, I think it's going to be a short stay for them.
I'll take you a step further, David. Not only are the Canadiens pretenders, that entire division is a bunch of pretenders. I think that division is just benefiting. The top teams up there are benefiting from playing each other. I don't think anyone in that division is a serious Stanley Cup contender. I think the teams in the United States are going to beat them up in the playoffs when it comes around with their defense and goaltending abilities. I don't think they'll be able to outscore their problems when it comes to the playoffs.
New season, global pandemic, but the storyline stays the same. The Canadian hockey teams are struggling to play defense and commit to being a contender in the NHL. But one thing hasn't changed as well. That's that there are some stars absolutely doing wonderful things. That includes Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, and the usual bunch. Who is your Hart Trophy winner so far this year?
I've got to go with the guy that I think is the best player in the league. I think he's showing you why he's the best player in the league. Connor McDavid, an example of him showing it on Saturday, a 7-1 win over Calgary. No defense there, Will. 5 points for Connor McDavid, a hat trick and 2 assists. He has 13 goals this season and 25 assists in 21 games. That's 38 points in 21 games. The Oilers are in second place in that North Division. If they make the playoffs, I don't see how you could give the MVP to anybody other than McDavid with the way he's playing.
I think you could give it to Marc-Andre Fleury, Tommy, because when Robin Lehner went down and kind of broke up that big tandem of Lehner and Fleury, one of the best in the NHL. Lehner down with injury, so Fleury turned into a workhorse, and a workhorse he has been. He has carried the Vegas Golden Knights. He's leading the league with a 1.55 goals against average and a .942 save percentage. He has been phenomenal for the Vegas Golden Knights.
And due to these new divisions, there can be some very exciting Stanley Cup matchups this season. Let's name a few. The Canadiens, if they can get it together, and the Boston Bruins. That would be a fun rivalry. How about the Battle of John Tavares, the New York Islanders and the Toronto Maple Leafs? There can be some fun when the playoffs come around. Right now, who are you taking in the Stanley Cup?
For me, the matchup that I would, predict would be the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Vegas Golden Knights. I know that Will doesn't like the defense that's played, but I really like the additions of TJ Brody and Mikko Lehtonen that the Maple Leafs made. I also think they beefed up their forward line a little bit more. They gave it a little bit of swagger as well, adding Joe Thornton and Wayne Simmons. I like the way they're playing. Obviously, they have John Tavares. I think that they're going to get out of that all-Canadian division. I think they're going to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. I do think they might have some trouble with the Vegas Golden Knights, though, because they have just phenomenal goaltending. Will mentioned how good Marc-Andre Fleury has been, 8-3 with a 1.55 goals against average. Robin Lehner has played well as well. You get the two of them on a roll in the playoffs. It's going to be scary for everybody else. That team has a lot of experience. They're well coached. I think the Vegas Golden Knights are going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get one of those fun matchups that you mentioned, David. But I see the Colorado Avalanche finally getting over the hump and finally getting to that Stanley Cup final. The one thing that's kind of plagued them has been the defense and goaltending. They beefed up the defense by acquiring Devon Toews, and that defense has looked great even without Eric Johnson in the lineup due to injury. And Philip Grubauer has looked fantastic in goal. Goaltending has been another thing for the Avalanche that has been tough for them. I think they go to the Stanley Cup final, and I think they beat the Philadelphia Flyers. And the Flyers, they're a very good team, a complete team. They've had some struggles in the playoffs, but I think for the Flyers, they've had a knack this season of winning games that maybe they shouldn't, and that's something that really helps you come playoff time.
Those are some great predictions, guys. You are going to have to stay tuned for the future episodes of Sports Beat to see mine, and they're going to be exciting. And let's now move on to a really exciting feature where earlier this week, our very own Will Wiggleman interviewed Zachary Knighton-Ward from the Hofstra men's wrestling team. Let's take a look.
Here with Zachary Knighton-Ward from the Hofstra wrestling team. Zach, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So how do you feel that your team has wrestled so far this season?
We've done well. We had a couple. We didn't start off as well as we wanted to. I think you guys know, Lehigh, our first duel of the year was canceled. So we kind of had Army as our first duel. Didn't go. Some people have some really big wins, like Holden Heller get a really big win in that duel. I had two losses. It was my only 2 losses of the year. But that's a team that we feel like we should have beat, and we ended up losing to them in a tight duel meet. So other than that, I feel like it's been a pretty good, pretty well. We could definitely wrestle better, and I think that's the plan moving forward, but it's been pretty good so far.
Now, for you personally, have you reached your expectations or exceed your expectations for yourself this season?
No, not at all. I don't really think, with me, I don't think my expectations for myself are I'm ever going to exceed them. I think I can reach them or meet them. I don't know if I thought exceeding them. because I set such a high goal and hold myself to such a high standard that it's really hard for me to exceed them. But like I said, I had 2 losses in the year. The kids, I didn't wrestle how I was supposed to be wrestling. 2 silly losses I probably shouldn't have on my resume right now. But other than that, I think I've been pretty dominant. Kind of want to keep it rolling for the EIWAs and then for nationals.
The next step to achieving those goals is the EIWA championships in a few days. You finished 4th last year, but what's your motivation going into this year?
Definitely my motivation is I want to win it. I see this as me seeing some of the more of the skilled guys or some of the better guys that I didn't really get an opportunity to wrestle during the year, just to prep me a little bit more for nationals. Get those more quality matches in, opposed to who I've been wrestling all year. But yeah, my motivation is just I want to win it. I don't like losing. I think I should be seated higher. I think I should be ranked higher, but I just want to come out and win it. And then be sitting somewhere pretty nice when it comes to nationals and like the national tournament and everything. So.
And you've won at other levels. You had that deep run last year. Do you think that gives you a bit of an advantage going in?
I don't know. It really would be an advantage. I know, I understand what it takes to win. I think, like I said before, I didn't meet my expectations last year when I finished 4th. I ended up getting the bid to nationals, but I wanted to have the automatic qualifier. I want to be that person I don't have to worry about, am I going to be there? Am I not going to be there? Yeah, I guess it kind of helps, but like I said, my motivation really at the end of the day is I just want to win the whole entire thing and then go to nationals and then put it on a show at nationals. So.
Yeah, what would it mean for you to get to compete in the NCAA tournament?
So when I started wrestling initially in high school, I didn't really understand wrestling that much. I started sophomore year. I didn't really understand wrestling and how high or the level you can reach until I sat there and watched the national tournament. I watched the national tournament. I think it was 2015 maybe. It was Kyle Snyder wrestling, and he was such a dominant wrestler. And I was just like, that's where I want to be. I want to be Division I wrestler wrestling at nationals, placing, being All-American. That's what I want. So I wasn't given the opportunity last year to do it. I was upset about it. I was like, okay, I can't, there's nothing I can do. But it's something I always wanted to wrestle at nationals. But I just don't want to be there to be there. You know what I mean? I don't want to be there to be okay, I'm here now. I want to get there and actually, make some strides and get on that podium. That's really my goal at the end of the day. I'm not just there to just wrestle there or go, and wrestle in a couple matches and be done. I wanna get that All-American status.
Well, Zach, good luck in the EIWAs and hopefully the NCAA tournament. And thanks again for coming on today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me again.
All right, now let's send it back to studio.
Zach and the rest of the Hofstra wrestling team are preparing for the EIWA championships coming up this weekend. And hopefully, if they do well there, some time in the NCAA tournament.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have tonight. I would like to thank my panelists, Tommy Aquilina and Will Wiggleman, for joining me, and also Zachary Knight and Ward for speaking with Will. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Hofstra SB, and tune in on March 10th for our second episode. Until then, I'm David Lazar, and have a great night.